Being a member of ILADS has one really cool benefit of being a part of this members forum. And what that is basically is just this really great opportunity to discuss different aspects of Lyme and treatment for Lyme and other tick-borne diseases with other professionals and practitioners who have a lot of experience in these areas. One of the things that's really helpful for us as practitioners is to have studies, right? Studies can help us to know the effectiveness of different treatments and how things work. The biggest problem with some of this stuff is that we don't always have updated studies or well-funded big studies, and we really have to rely on each other's clinical experience to know what are some options that might help some of our patients. And so what I wanted to do today is give just an update on SOT therapy. So I guess that's redundant, SOT. SOT is supportive oligonucleotide therapy. And it's a unique treatment for Lyme and other tick-borne diseases. Can be used for some viral infections, can be used for cancer as well. And just kind of give you some of my thoughts on the effectiveness of this particular treatment. I know I've done some videos on this in the past, going over some of the study that has been done on this and what SOT is. So you can go ahead and click on the links here for those particular videos if you want to learn a little bit more about that. So I'm not going to go into detail about what SOT is and exactly how it works, because I've done that and you can see that. But I'm going to just share with you some thoughts. One of the things that I've noticed in this forum is that there's quite a variable amount of opinions when it comes to SOT, and some very adamant that this is a super effective treatment for patients, and others on the opposite end of the spectrum that feel like it's something that we shouldn't be using for whatever reason, whether it's the cost or just the lack of studies or experience that they've had. And so in anything like this where the opinions vary so widely, the chances are that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I personally have found SOT to be quite helpful for some patients. There are certainly patients who have responded very well to it, and getting benefits that would exceed what you'd expect from a placebo. And so I can say, just with my personal experience, is that this is a very effective therapy for patients, and that I don't hesitate to recommend it if someone is interested in looking into it. But I also think that it's really important to recognize that just like any other treatment, not every single person responds to it. And I do find that there are a fair number of people who don't get amazing results with it, and some people who haven't responded to it, and that's just the reality of it. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. We don't know all the reasons exactly. Some of the things that I've seen, though, just in my clinical practice, the patients that seem to do better with SOT are the patients who are making sure that they're not just using this one SOT as their sole treatment. And what I mean by that is SOT targets one particular organism. And when you treat with an SOT infusion, that particular treatment is going to continue to work for up to 6 months. 3 to 6 months is kind of where the range lies. So during that time, though, if that's all we're doing, well, then we're ignoring things like other co-infections that could be going on that we're not treating, or we're ignoring some of the autoimmune aspect or the lifestyle aspect of things that we need to do to really help our bodies to fight this off. So I think that's the first thing I've noticed, is that the patients that do better are doing SOT for one particular organism while they're doing other treatments for the other ones, or they're doing SOTs for all the different organisms. That also seems to be a more effective approach. The other thing is that one SOT doesn't seem to be enough for most patients. That's just what I'm experiencing here too. I don't have a big enough sample size to tell you that this is the case across the board, but I do believe that most patients that respond to it tend to need more than one round of it. And that's per organism too. So, if we're treating Lyme disease, Borrelia burgdorferi, or something of that nature, the one SOT repeated again, several months later, 6 months later, tends to be more effective than if we just do the one. So I think that that's part of what's going on here, is that SOT alone is probably not enough unless we're doing multiple SOTs for the different organisms, and then repeating those treatments so that we can make sure that we're getting whatever is kind of left behind and straggling here too, and that we're not ignoring any of the other co-infections. One of the other thoughts that, again, I think this is still kind of up in the air, is can SOT treat some of the persister bacteria that we see with Lyme and some of the co-infections? To be honest, I don't know. I don't have a study that can show us that, so I can't tell you based on that. What I can tell you is that persistent Lyme and persistent co-infections are a real thing, that these bacteria do have ways of surviving despite treatments, that they can encompass themselves in biofilms that are difficult to penetrate. They can become more dormant and not respond to the immune system or to other treatments. So I think it's very possible that SOT, I don't know, it might not be a persister treatment. We don't have the answer to that. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well, that if you're treating with SOT and it seems like symptoms don't completely resolve, then we may or they recur, we may need to be thinking about these persisters and trying some other treatments along with this. So it's important to maybe not hang our hat on just this one particular treatment, but know that it can be a really good treatment and a good resource for patients who are wanting to try that. So clinical experience is a big part of what we look at when it comes to treatments for Lyme disease. And I think that in the absence of studies, the clinical experience is what we have that gives us some direction on where to go.